Hi everyone, welcome to or back to my channel. If you're not new here, no, your eyes are not deceiving you. I did rearrange my bookcases to leave room on one side for some future plans. So let's get into this month's reading plans. I'm doing something a little different. Every book on my May TBR has been sitting on my shelves for far too long. And the deal I've made with myself is pretty simple. I'm sure you've seen it on BookTube before. I either read it this month or I unhaul it. And I'll warn you ahead of time, the stack is a little unhinged in the best way. We've got genre-bending lit fic, experimental eco-horror, a space opera, ancient Greece and heartbreak, a climate-driven survival story, and a book that promises to make me question what time even is. So if nothing else, it's gonna be interesting. Let's get into the books. I am still gonna do the same thing I do in the majority of my reading plans videos. That is to look at the ratings of these books, see if there's any standout highlights, and usually read just like a little bit of the synopsis, just the beginning, just a little taste, sort of to get myself hyped and maybe get you hyped. If you, while going through these books, you have any opinions, please let me know in the comments. Am I gonna love these or am I gonna hate these? And I also am gonna let you guys know when I bought these books, how long they've been sitting on my shelves. The oldest one I have, I bought in 2020, and I'm a very different person now than I was then, 5 years ago. So it's gonna take a little bit of that hype to get me excited probably for some of these again. We'll start with one that I bought in February of 2022, and that is The Iliac Crust by Cristina Rivera Garza. This one I literally had in my living room for about a year, and I finally moved it in here. I just knew I wasn't gonna pick it up anytime soon. So yes, more than 3 years later, let's finally give this one a whirl. It is rated 4.1 on Amazon, 3.6 on Goodreads. That's not great, but not necessarily meaning that I'm not gonna like it. It's considered surreal and gothic, which I do find appealing about this book. So let's start with the beginning of the synopsis. It's funny, I'm not used to having the physical books of all of these, so I already have it pulled up on here on Amazon, but I'll use this, like I said, for the ratings, any other info that I might find to be helpful, and popular highlights. On a dark and stormy night, an unnamed narrator is visited by two women. One, a former lover, the other a stranger, who ruthlessly harass him and claim to know his greatest secret. In increasingly desperate attempts to defend himself, he spirals deeper into a haunted past of disappearance and memory. And this is a translated work, which I do like to have one of those each month. Let's see. I don't see any popular highlight, but it is like what I would consider to be a thinky book, and that does appear to be the case looking at the editorial reviews. So, and it's also not super long. I do feel like I'll take my time with it though to really absorb what I'm reading. So this is the first one that I'm adding to my May TBR. Next, I have the Area X, well, it's the Southern Reach trilogy. I'm sure you've heard of it, known as Area X. My hope is to read the first in the trilogy, Annihilation, this month. And I don't know if you saw my little sticky. Also bought this one in February of 2022. So I've had it for over 3 years now. Okay, so that one I am gonna read the synopsis off of here since this is the trilogy. Area X has been cut off from the rest of the continent for decades. Nature has reclaimed the last vestiges of human civilization. The first expedition returned with reports of a pristine, Edenic landscape. The second expedition ended in mass suicide. The third expedition in a hall of gunfire as its members turned on one another. I'm gonna stop there. I don't like to know too much about the synopsis. I feel like often, I've said this before, it just gives too much away. This sounds really intriguing to me. Annihilation looks like it's about 210 pages, so very doable. This actually says it's book 1 of 4. How is it a trilogy then? Anyway, we'll see how we feel about the first one before we worry about that. Okay, so a popular highlight on this one, and then I'll go into the ratings. There are certain kinds of deaths that one should not be expected to relive, certain kinds of connections so deep that when they are broken, you feel the snap of the link inside you. I like this one. That's how the madness of the world tries to colonize you from the outside in, forcing you to live in its reality. I think this is very timely, actually. I think that I might prioritize this one just because I am a mood reader, might as well lean into that. Okay, so it has a 4.0 rating on Amazon and a 3.8 on Goodreads. Tons of reviews. This is obviously very popular. It's been made into a movie. Okay, so we've got this one as well. All right, so next we have one that I bought in October of 2020, and that is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Pellini. This one I was so excited to get at the time, and you know how it is. You'll sometimes buy multiple books at a time. You get to the majority of them, but there's like a couple good men left behind. I have a feeling I'll really like this one. It is highly rated, has a 4.4 on Amazon, a 3.8 on Goodreads. It's like very common for Goodreads to have more reviews and be more critical. The beginning of the synopsis: Kira Navarez dreamed of life on new worlds. Now she's awakened a nightmare. During a routine survey mission on an uncolonized planet, Kira finds an alien relic. At first she's delighted, but elation turns to terror when the ancient dust around her begins to move. As war erupts among the stars, Kira is launched into a galaxy-spanning odyssey of discovery and transformation. I'll stop there. Yeah, so I want to say it was in either February or March. It was March that I picked up finally a book of the month book that I had had for a long time called The Space Between Worlds. Hopefully this scratches the itch that didn't. Funnily enough, I think that main character is also Kira. I could be wrong. That's how memorable that book was. So let's see if this one has a popular highlight. It does. Okay. So one is, suffering was inescapable, but to care for another and to be cared for in turn, that was the closest any person might come to heaven. The second one, I feel like, is something that you would have to know some of the terminology in the book to take that one in context. So I'm going to skip that one. Take comfort then that whatever you choose in life has importance beyond yourself, importance even on a cosmic scale. There is no such thing as safety, only degrees of risk. I don't know. We'll see. I am always up for a good space opera, so let's hope this delivers on that. All right, this next one, I have two books by this author, neither of which I've read. This one's older, so I'm starting with this one, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I have had this one since February of 2022, so a few years. A lot of these I bought in February of 2022. I don't know what was going on then. Clearly, whatever it was, I was not in a good place if I was buying this many books that I didn't end up reading. This one is extremely highly rated, and I'm sure at the time I was heavily influenced to buy this on BookTube. The beginning of this synopsis: a tale of gods, kings, immortal fame, and the human heart. The Song of Achilles is a dazzling literary feat that brilliantly reimagines Homer's enduring masterwork, the Iliad. An action-packed adventure, an epic love story. This feels like a summary, not so much what I'm looking for. Let's see if it's any different on the actual book. It is. Okay, great. Achilles, the best of all the Greeks, son of the cruel sea goddess Thetis and the legendary king Peleus, is strong, swift, and beautiful. Irresistible to all who meet him, Patroclus is an awkward young prince exiled from his homeland after an act of shocking violence. Brought together by chance, they forge an inseparable bond despite risking the gods' wrath. I am not, as you can probably tell, well-versed in mythology. I do tend to like it though in literature, so I'm hopeful for this, and you know, I've been hanging on to it for a few years. I think I have had very high expectations of Madeline Miller's writing, so I'll finally find out if I agree with all the hype. So whether I like this one or not, I will then continue on to Circe. I do plan to continue with this. The majority of my shelves are read, but I do have a lot of, I have a lot of books, and so some of them are unread, and I want to, as I continue to buy new books, be sort of cycling out my library to reflect my current reading taste. Okay, I'm getting way off track here. Okay, so next, this one I've had since May of 2022, so 3 years, and that is Salvage the Bones by Jessamine Ward. This one I, at the time, was so intrigued by, but life, gets in the way, and I ended up putting it off until it just ended up on my shelves and I forgot about it. So when I was looking for books for this prompt for myself, this one was one that I gravitated towards immediately because I feel like it's very relevant. It is about a climate crisis and how it affects this one family. So let's pull this one up. Actually, real quick, I don't think I actually said what the rating was for The Song of Achilles. I said it was high. It's 4.5 on Amazon, 4.3 on Goodreads. That's very, very good, but doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna like it. There have been a lot of really highly rated books that I ended up not liking, and a couple of those are actually going to be on my next wrap up that I think I'll probably post next weekend, and that's my April wrap up. Okay, so a popular highlight from The Song of Achilles. We were like gods at the dawning of the world, and our joy was so bright we could see nothing else but the other. I will never leave him. It will be this always for as long as he will let me. And I'm gonna cut it off there, and let's move on to this one. So this one's rated 4.3 on Amazon, 4.0 on Goodreads. It was the winner of the National Book Award. It's so interesting to me when the synopsis is different between the cover and like Amazon or Goodreads. I think I'm gonna go with the one on here. A hurricane is building over the Gulf of Mexico, threatening the coastal town of Bois Sauvage, Mississippi, and Esh's father is growing concerned. A hard drinker, largely absent, he doesn't show concern for much else. Esh and her 3 brothers are stocking food, but there isn't much to save. Lately, Esh can't keep down what food she gets. She's 14 and pregnant. Yeah. Her brother, Skida, is sneaking scraps for his prized pit bull's new litter, dying one by one in the dirt. Meanwhile, brothers Randall and Junior try to stake their claim in a family long on child's play and short on parenting. This honestly sounds like a plot that I would be drawn to in movies or TV shows. Definitely looking forward to this one. Let's see if there's any popular highlights going on here. Seeing him broke the cocoon of my rib cage and my heart unfurled to fly. I do think I'm gonna like the writing in this one. I will not let him see until none of us have any choices about what can be seen, what can be avoided, what is blind, and what will turn us to stone. Yeah, I can already tell I like the writing. Definitely looking forward to this one. Here's hoping. I really want to love this one and hang on to that one. Okay, last but certainly not least is a book that I picked up in November of 2022, and that is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. This one is another one that I was so excited about, and I actually am very interested in more from this author, but have not read anything yet from this author. I did start the series, I think Station 11, but as I started that one, I really wanted to read the book first, so I stopped myself from continuing on with it. And The Glass Hotel I'm also very interested in. So this one is rated 4.3 on Amazon, 4.1 on Goodreads, has hundreds of thousands of reviews between the two. This one starts, Edwin St. Andrew is 18 years old when he crosses the Atlantic by steamship, exiled from polite English society following an ill-conceived diatribe at a dinner party. He enters the forest, spellbound by the beauty of the Canadian wilderness, and suddenly hears the notes of a violin echoing in an airship terminal, an experience that shocks him to his core. 2 centuries later, a famous writer named Olive Llewellyn is on a book tour. She's traveling all over Earth, but her home is the Second Moon Colony, a place of white stone, spire towers, and artificial beauty. I'll skip ahead to this last little part. When Gaspery Roberts, a hotel detective in the black-skied night city, is hired to investigate an anomaly in the North American wilderness, he uncovers a series of lives upended. The exiled son of an earl driven to madness, a writer trapped far from home as a pandemic ravages Earth, and a childhood friend from the night city who, like Gaspery himself, has glimpsed the chance to do something extraordinary that will disrupt the timeline of the universe. Yeah, so this one I think will be very time-bendy. I hope that it does a better job than the last couple time-bendy books I read, which I've talked about in my last couple wrap-ups, that, you know, it's not exactly an easy feat, but when it's done right, it just hits so hard. Popular highlight: there is a low-level specific pain in having to accept that putting up with you requires a certain generosity of spirit in your loved ones. Because we might reasonably think of the end of the world, Olive said, as a continuous and never-ending process. Okay, I'll stop there. This I feel like is a pretty well-rounded TBR. A lot of times I'm just all in on one genre. I do like that this is, you know, dabbling in many genres. I will still allow myself to mood read. One of the books that I will be mood reading, I'll continue on with Summer in the City. I just started this a couple days ago. Today is May 3rd, so started this May 1st, I believe. And I'm pretty far into it. This is the one I'm reading at night. And I'm just going to tell you what other books I have as like mood reads. They're usually library books that I'll pick up. And I allow myself these mood reads as I am in bed, winding down for sleep. And for the last probably 4, 5, 6 months, I have heavily been gravitating towards thrillers in bed. But now I'm getting kind of back into romance. So I have Summer in the City. I have a couple that I'll be talking about in my upcoming wrap-up of April reads. Other books I have from the library right now that I may prioritize, I may just get back in line, and that is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Yeah, this one I loved The Hunger Games back in the day so much that I have read that trilogy probably 3 or 4 times. Have watched all the movies multiple times, I own them. But when Suzanne Collins came out with the prequel and then the subsequent prequel, I just was like, I don't know, I almost felt like I had outgrown it. But lately I've been in a very dystopian kind of mood, so I am more inclined, I think, to pick that one up. I have The Perfect Divorce, which is the sequel to The Perfect Marriage. That is unhinged and like a great wind down book at the end of the night. I have started Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. That one is a horror, but like a very, I would say, muted type of horror. And I have just heard such wonderful things about it. So far, I am 30% into that one, and I'm not loving it. I do think I'll continue on with it though. I do think I will make that a priority to finish that one, but so far I'm just not enjoying it like others seem to have enjoyed it. Let's see, any other mood reads on here? Yes, I'm seeing some of the books that I read in April that I'm really excited to talk about in my wrap up, but I won't go into those just yet. I know there's another one on here that I wanted to talk about. Oh yes, okay, so All the Water in the World. This one I think kind of fits into my dystopian mood a bit. And in the tradition of Station 11 by Miss Emily St. John Mandel, a literary thriller set partly on the roof of New York's Museum of Natural History in a flooded future. So this one, I think, especially if I read a couple of these, like Salvage the Bones and The Sea of Tranquility, I might have not gotten enough and I might move into this one. Obviously, I'm going to prioritize my physical books this month because that's the goal. So a little bit less hyped, as you might be able to tell, than I was in April, where I was reading books that I had just gotten. So of course my excitement was much higher. But I do think that this is a good time of year to sort of spring clean my clutter, that if it's not serving a purpose, let's get rid of it. Like, let's not continue to carry it around with me. I am excited to maybe tap into what had initially gotten me interested in these books in the first place. Yeah, please let me know if you have any opinions on these. If you have any books that you maybe bought 3 or more years ago and still haven't picked them up, that you were excited about and now it's just almost like this daunting task to get to it, but that you want to like get hyped again, let me know. Let me know that I'm not the only one in this boat. Yeah, this one is really calling to me now. And see, this is the problem when you're as finicky a reader as myself, meaning that I am such a mood reader, is I have like this impatience about me that I want to read what I want to read and not necessarily be responsible about my reading. But that's okay. We're gonna work through that this month and it's gonna be good. I think I will probably do maybe a reading vlog or 2 this month where I am reading these books, doing my read it or unhaul it. I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. Please let me know how you're doing, what you're reading. Take care, you guys, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye.